Meet Donna Adelson from Coral Springs, Florida. I want to hear all about you, Donna. Let's go.
Well, I'm a domestic coordinator.
A domestic coordinator?
Yes. I'm responsible for the activities, classes, and lessons of my son Robert, who is 16, Charlie, who is 12, Wendi, who is 10, my husband Harvey, who's in the audience, and my dog Sam.
All right. And how old is Sam?
5.
5. Well, good. Give him our best. Nice to have you here. And this is vowels worth nothing. Consonants are going to be worth. Can we get 800? We can. All right. So I'm writing on this. Again, person is a category. Stu, still your turn. Letter, please. L. Nope, no L. Donna.
M.
Yes, there are 2 M's. Let them come up. You have 5 seconds. Person. Alan. K. Yes, K.
Mustard maker.
Nope, still
Mustard
10.
maker.
Stu. H, please. Yes, there's 1 H. Time starts now. First. Donna.
F.
Yes.
Mischief maker.
Yeah, that's.
Nice.
You are listening to the Roberta Glass True Crime Report, putting the true back in true crime. From New York City, Roberta Glass is now on the record.
Okay, how is everybody? Wanted to talk to you today about Donna Adelson and how really they all blame Wendi. Not just Donna, Charlie, Donna, Harvey. It's all Wendi's fault. It was all Wendi's idea. And of course, Donna appeared in a hearing yesterday, status hearing for her trial, looking chipper. I don't know how many of you caught it. It was very brief, and it had a big buzz, like a big audio buzz going through the entire hearing, which for podcasting and YouTube is terrible, but I just want to show you a picture of Donna. I'm going to get to your comments. A lot of great comments on the last episode. So she appeared looking like this. So her hair is growing out and seemed to be in very good spirits. And people were asking, why is she in such good spirits? I think I have an idea. But just to sum up what was said at the hearing, Donna's lawyers, Alec Morris and Dan Rachbaum, want to move Donna's trial to a different courtroom. Now, my theory on this is that they watched the Karen Reed trial and they thought where her lawyers asked to move it to a smaller courtroom and got it, and really got the public removed from the trial. And I don't know how they're going to think that benefits. I didn't know how they thought that was going to benefit Karen Reed. I think it was just an idea that it was going to, maybe if they didn't get it, it was also sets them up for an appeal. For some reason, there's something wrong with the courtroom that we couldn't get due process. And that's a phrase that Dan Rachbaum brought up. So if Judge Everett puts his foot down, as he should, and says, no way, he can say, hey, we didn't get due process, blah, 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 blah. But another thing, it's really, actually, I can see it being more of an advantage to keep the public out. In Donna's case, not Karen Reed's, because she does not have a big campaign going to free Donna Adelson. There's not a lot of people who want the Adelson family out on the street. In fact, this has really been Georgia Cappelman's and the whole Tallahassee DA's department's crown jewel, could I say? I don't know. Really a very, an accomplishment or accomplishments that have pleased the public in that they didn't just stop with the poor people as they were going to do under DA Willie Meggs, or state's attorney, I think that's what they call it in Florida, in Tallahassee. So, but that they went on and they prosecuted the rich, well-connected people, starting with Charlie Adelson, going on to Donna Adelson. And if Patty's Playhouse, shout out to you, Patty, if the tip that she got is correct from the DA there, the new acting state's attorney, that Georgia Cappelman is doing this one at the time, and that Wendy's next. So pretty interesting, right? So Donna was in, the defense we're set to go, surprisingly, set to start mid-September. And I was surprised it wasn't pushed back at all. These things are usually pushed back, but it looks like they moved it at the right time. Everybody's ready. Dan Rachbaum and Alex Morris, his co-counsel, was saying, oh, this is going to be such different evidence than Charlie Adelson's trial for the defense. So that's interesting. Maybe they're going to have a brand new surprise defense. That's something that Dan Rachbaum likes to do. Who knows? But I would think that it would be similar to Charlie Adelson's extortion defense. I don't know where else you could go. Let me know what you think, where Donna else could go besides Charlie Adelson's lame extortion defense that didn't work, and he was convicted in 2.5 hours. So the reason I think that she was in really good spirits, and when she was asked to come on, I guess they were testing her microphone. Other people thought it might have been a password. She was asked for her high school mascot. And I didn't have a high school mascot. Neither did my boyfriend. I had actually called my mother. We went to the same high school. I was like, did we have a mascot? And she's like, not in my time. And I was like, I don't think so in my time. They do now. But I think it was just to test the microphone, make sure they could hear her. That was my take on that. But she didn't remember. She was very polite to the judge. It was a really different Donna Adelson than we saw in that first hearing where she showed up in person with Marcella Descalzo. Does anybody remember that? Where she was basically heckling her, and you guys want to take a look at that briefly, just to remind you guys of that hearing. And this was so different. Hold on one second. Let me just share my screen. It's not going to magically appear on the screen. Shockingly. Shockingly. Did I put it up? Oh, hold on one second. I prepared for everything but this. I was looking at it right beforehand, where she was kept, they thought she might end it all because she was threatening to. And she was saying that she couldn't talk to her lawyer. She wasn't in good situation to talk to her lawyer. And she was dying to get out of watching. Here we go. Finally. Thanks, guys, for being patient. Here we go. Guys, remember this court hearing from Court TV? Remember where she picked a Miami lawyer who's, again, just like Dan Rashbaum, wasn't a criminal lawyer, someone who she trusted. Let's just watch a little of this.
Chief Mack is here. He's assured me that they can have visit. I don't understand the problem that...
Right, she was saying her rights had been violated. All of them, all of her constitutional rights had been violated in the Leon County Jail, which is the joke of the century, because like I say often, the Leon County Jail, if I ever get arrested, put me in the Leon County Jail. They have more services, even online. I was looking today to find out if all their inmates are showing up on Zoom hearings and not showing up in person, but it's really a choice that you can make. Everything is so available online, so organized. They have a zillion programs. And Chief Mack, who you hear about in the phone calls with Charlie Adelson, who runs the jail, has to clear you to get off watch. And here's Donna Adelson. She's a stranger in a strange land, and everything for Donna is control. And she doesn't know the rules. She doesn't know the lay of the land, and everything is out of her hands. She's been totally stripped of any control over her life, and she's clearly not doing well with it in this at this time.
But there is no impediment to an attorney-client visitation. Am I correct?
The first question, we'll have Chief Mack give some testimony, so that way we have a clear record. But the level of confinement and also the current restrictions that are in place, are these because there were at some point statements alluding to self-harm during the jail phone calls?
And at booking here. When she was booked into the jail here, she made a statement that she wanted to die. Now, before she was arrested in Miami, she also had a phone call with her son, who's obviously in jail here, 25-minute phone call. I've personally listened to it. She very clearly spoke about a plan to kill herself using sleeping pills.
One moment, Ms. Adelson, please keep your comments to yourself. Let your lawyer argue on your behalf.
Okay, does everybody remember that hearing? Does everybody remember that, Donna? So this was quite a different Donna, quite chipper, ready to get along, very quiet, not heckling by Zoom. Of course, it's a lot harder to heckle by Zoom when you're muted, but in good spirits. And I think now it's because they say that the best night's sleep you get is if you've committed a murder like Donna, or planned it, or had a murder by hire. You're always looking over your shoulder. You're always wondering when the arrest is going to come. And when it finally comes, I hear there is some relief. But also, Donna is a person of intense control. And now she knows the lay of the land. She knows how to get control. She knows who she can go to get things. And it's a very regimented, in control, safe life. And I think that living years on Xanax and being very worried about the handcuffs being put on, once it's put on, and once she knows her layout, I'm not saying she likes it. I'm just saying that there has to be some comfort in that. So that was the hearing, really nothing, Berger. I think it was 2.5 minutes. If you guys are super interested, I can put it on. But like I said, it's got a huge buzz through it. And it's just not the big shocker for me was the moving of the room and Donna's appearance. So those were the things. Getting to your comments, pretty interesting. Lisa in the lab says, all the notes Donna sent to herself. So this is something we talked about last time. Donna sent herself text messages, and they were all about Charlie's trial. I organized them as just to show people as Donna's trial notebook because I didn't know else how to present them. Donna's text messages to herself. Everybody would be like, what? What is she doing? So she liked to send text messages. They are all things, this is what Lisa in the lab says, talked about on the jailhouse calls. They, quote, always called home number is from that too. Charlie talks about how the prosecution said that it was odd that he called his parents on their landline instead of on a cell. He's annoyed because, they're always saying that, I'll call you back on the landline. I'll call you back on the landline. He's annoyed because he said that there was nothing suspicious. Isn't that great? A little omission in the negative. Nothing suspicious going on here, guys. And that his parents have had the same number forever. I don't know what that has to do with anything. And he calls them on their landline all the time. It wasn't anything new, he says. He says he always called them on their home number. Thanks, Lisa in the lab. Super enlightening. So the question remains, why was she sending them to herself? Why was she sending pieces of things that Charlie said or they talked about to herself? My feeling, still, it hasn't changed, is that these were things she wanted to talk to Dan Rashbaum about. He seemed to be really keeping her spirits up during the trial, and that maybe could help his defense and help get either Charlie off or out of there. That is my feeling for an appeal. And a lot of it's about the jury not being fair, not a juror of his peers, et cetera, et cetera. And I really think that the Adelsens think that unless there are 12 periodontists, male periodontists in their 30s, that it's not a jury of Charlie Adelsen's peers. So funny. Neil, 1979, says, I already knew Georgia Kappelman from various true crime episodes throughout the years of the Samara Fraisch murder, Dr. Adam Fraisch conviction, and also the Hoyt Burge murder conviction. Adelsen, certainly most high profile, but far from her only one. Yeah, I mean, she's just a powerhouse. So much so that I started on Facebook. You can join my Facebook group, the Georgia Kappelman Appreciation Society, where we talk about all things Dan Markel case and, of course, Georgia Kappelman. So thanks for that, Neil. Linda McDough, 3645, says, on Harvey not being arrested at the airport. So I said, I think Harvey's never going to be charged with this crime, with the murder of Dan Markel. I think it ends either with Donna or Wendi. And depending on my day in the mood, I hope that Wendi is next. It certainly, she had the most motive to do this, but they're all such an enmeshed four-headed or three-headed monster, depending on how you want to see it, that it's hard to separate them. That I hope that she faces consequences for this, but it either ends with Donna or Wendi. It's my feeling. My take on that from a so I said if they wanted to get Harvey, they would have picked him up at the airport. There's nothing stopping him from getting on the plane and saying, see ya. I'm going to Vietnam alone. I'm protecting myself, as they all seem to do in this family. My take on that from a law enforcement perspective is that leaving Harvey free, Donna will talk to Harvey from prison, and it offers an opportunity for prosecution gold caught on tape. They often leave a co-conspirator free to gather more possible evidence that they couldn't get if both were in jail, not able to speak to one another. Interesting theory. What do you guys think? Pam Merrigan says, It sounds like you've already convicted all of them. What if Wendy's innocent? What if Donna is? What if she believes they were being extorted? The joy in your voice as you share this story is disturbing. The joy, it's mob mentality and not equally fair and unbiased. Yeah, you know what I found out on doing jury duty? I just got off a jury. I just got my paycheck today, actually. Is that we all come to these trials with biases. I don't think there really is such a thing as unbiased. I think people can pretend to be unbiased. You can only look at both sides and be as fair as you can. I don't know any of these people. I watched all of it, Charlie and Katie's trial. 4% of people are wrongfully committed. So I don't know if you meant convicted. And that's my interest is innocence fraud, is the people that are rightfully convicted and get off, thanks to organizations like the Innocence Project. I've looked at every celebrated case of wrongful conviction from the transcripts and the evidence that I can. And I'm still looking for a wrongfully convicted person. So I don't know. That's a lot of what ifs. I mean, those are a lot of doubts. Are they reasonable? Are they reasonable considering the evidence? And certainly the jury didn't agree with you in Charlie's case. They convicted him in under 2.5 hours. So just going to take a little break with a great video that we haven't visited in a while from Murder by Maestro. With this is something Charlie Adelson argued in his case. If we would all have fled if we were guilty. Take a listen.
I know you already testified about this, but does an innocent person say if they had any evidence?
Right. Katie's saying it's the police, and I'm saying that we're innocent. They're not going to have any evidence to show we were part of something, that we were part of it. If we had any part of this, we'd be going to the airport right now.
Isn't it true, Doctor, that they're not going to have any evidence because you were careful?
No, because we weren't a part of this.
You were smart.
No, we weren't a part of this.
You walled yourself off from the killers.
I was sure they're not going to have evidence to show I did something I didn't do, so we're not running to the airport.
You're untouchable, right?
No.
Donna Adelson was arrested right here at Miami International Airport on the jetway as she was getting ready to board a one-way flight to Vietnam. That's a country without extradition to the United States. Now she's in custody in Miami, waiting to be transferred to Tallahassee.
So let's talk about that non-extradition flight, the new document dump. So some of the things I didn't talk about yesterday, the day before yesterday, in the document dump is all of Donna's searches for non-extradition treaty countries. This is something that she did right after Charlie was convicted. And all her contact with the Vietnam embassy, getting passports. Now that will be very damning evidence against Donna in that it shows consciousness of guilt. And of course, the jury's going to have to decide how strong evidence. But certainly I would think that all her the jailhouse calls, meaning the calls where Charlie was in jail after his conviction, are coming through, where she's caught on a hot mic. We're going to listen to some of them. And the one that really starting with the one that really got her caught, where she says she had two options. So last time I showed a quote where she says to Wendi, you're not guilty. Your law lawyer has taken good care of you. Bury me in the dress that I got for Lincoln's bar mitzvah. That's not word for word, but it's close enough. And she really had two options that she was contemplating at the time. You heard her in the plea hearing, her own plea hearing, where the jailhouse employee was saying, look, she was saying that she was going to take sleeping pills and end it all. And the other choice was to flee. And I think Harvey, she was saying that they both can do it. It doesn't hurt. She's had a good life. She's traveled and end it all. And the other option was to flee. I don't think Harvey was fully on board. She said, I'm not afraid to fall asleep and not wake up. And I think Harvey was not quite at that state. But also, to give Donna a fair shake here, Harvey wasn't in the danger Donna was. Now, Dan Rashbaum told her, I believe, tipped her off that there was a grand jury meeting and they indicted her and that they may have been coming for her next, that they were going to arrest her next. And she even says in these jailhouse tapes, we might not make it to the airport, but it's worth a try, which is interesting because when she's arrested, she says, oh, here we go again. Like she's being arrested at every turn in her life. Like, oh, here we go again. More, but I think it's really like more harassment, but funny for the situation. Oh, here we go again. And she does seem shocked. She seems very medicated. This is a family that uses a lot of Xanax, but still very shocked. I think she did, everything up to this point had worked out for the Adelsens, up to Charlie's arrest, had worked out for the Adelsens, even with the arrest and the conviction of Sigfredo, the deal Luis Rivera made, and Katie had a hung jury, then got convicted. Everything had gone well. They had been suspected, but were able to live their lives as close to normally as you can after you kill your son-in-law, former son-in-law, ex-son-in-law. So she had become a glasses half full type person. She thought she was going to make it out. And she gets all the way to the jetaway and she's picked up. Must have been quite a shock. I just can't even imagine you're talking to someone about, oh, have you been to Vietnam? And you've already handed in your ticket. You're just walking with your stuff to the plane. You think you probably would have been picked up. But of course, they're not going to pick you up in the airport, because had they picked her up, say, just in the airport with tickets, she could have said, oh, in her trial, oh, we had the tickets, we packed all up, and we were just deciding to go home. We weren't going to flee. So they have to get you as close to going all the way through with that act as they can get you. And boarding the plane is about as close to performing that act as you can get. So, hey, Dean Walker, nice to see you. Thanks for the super chat. Appreciate it. So I wanted to share with you the other thing I didn't show you last time. A lot of stuff. And also in the pile of evidence was notes to Donna's self to get, I think I said wrongly, I misspoke, which drives you crazy. It's much harder to think and talk than it looks. I said to get water shoes for Harvey for Vietnam. I think I said Charlie by accident and to put away the cushions on the outside, to hand over all their rental properties to friends, to really closing up shop. And you'll hear her on the tape saying, we're going away. I can't write this down. I'll play it for you. We're going away. What are we going to do? Dan told me not to put anything in writing, but we're going away. She makes enough hints that they weren't going to come back, and they were putting things in other people's hands to take over their rentals. So I guess they were going to live on that money. But the other thing is they left a gun to Wendi to sell. And I didn't show this to you guys. Wendi, this is an M11 gun and can only be sold with the paperwork enclosed. Contact Alex Burkakow. I don't know if you know how to pronounce that last name. If it is to be sold, love, Dad. What a touching thing to leave. But apparently, according to Patty's Playhouse, I know nothing about guns. This gun is worth $5,000. And Donna says on these tapes that she wants Wendi to come over to help with the extradition because she's an extradition lawyer. And she only got I think it was a 90-day visa. I don't know what they were going to do after that. Maybe pay people off to extend it? I have no idea. But she had to know that she couldn't come back in the country, right? So I wanted to listen to some of those calls since there's so much part of the paperwork that was dumped, and it's going to be so much part of the evidence that's going to be in her trial. Listen to some key calls, jailhouse calls between Charlie, and I know that they can be. This is from, of course, Pretty Lies and Alibis. Thank you, Gigi, for getting this. Paying for it. So I thought we'd listen to these together. I thought they were interesting, listening in a little bit more knowledge and closer to Donna's trial.
An incarcerated individual at the Leon County Jail. This call is not private. It will be recorded and may be monitored. If you believe this should be a private call, please hang up and follow facility instructions to register this number as a private number. To accept charges and consent to this recorded call, press 1. Thank you for using Securus. You may start the conversation now.
Did I say extradition lawyer? Someone just said I said. I'm sorry. Who said that? Lou, I'm so sorry. This is what I'm talking about. I know she's an immigration lawyer. Did I say extradition lawyer? It's a lot harder to talk and think, do this than it looks. Sometimes I just want to eat my iPad when I'm iPhone listening back to my episodes. I'm like, why did I say that? I know what I meant.
Sorry about that. No, last thing I heard was you said, and the chief, and then it just went through.
He was supposed to fly. He's the same guy who said he was going to call Dan back when I first got here. Never called him back. But Chief Mac, like, he's the chief of the whole jail, come by and check me out.
So he has not been there yet.
He has not, but the psychologist, like PhD, whatever she is, she came by and I said, listen, I'm fine. I'm getting claustrophobic. Like,
sure.
Like, just looking outside of a window, inches out into the pod, and this is like you're sitting in like
a block.
Like the same textile I had before, but I could look out the window into the pod. Here, it's like a box.
Yeah.
So you can't see. It's a mirror. They can see in, and you can't see out.
Is it any help? Can Dan get this guy to come sooner? Would that be of any help?
Right, because Donna thinks Dan Rashbaum, the sun rises and sets with him. Can Dan do it? Dan, just get Dan. Dan will fix it. Because he's held her up emotionally through Charlie's trial. And that's why she picked him as her lawyer. He's flattered her. He's made her feel good. She feels she can trust him. But it's a dumb decision. It's an emotional decision. You really need an experienced criminal lawyer who knows criminal law in and out. And I can see that. I'm so glad that Charlie has a different lawyer on his appeal. Not that I want him out, but just so he gets his, let me quote Dan Rashbaum, his due process. This is such a dumb decision to hire Dan Rashbaum. I know Alex Morris is by his side for this case, and maybe it'll make all the difference. We're all assuming it'll go down like Charlie Adelsen's trial. I just think the evidence is so similar. She's so unlikable. What they did is so atrocious. And I was talking to someone who really follows the case, texting with them, and Starkwork. I don't know if she's in the audience, but she said, I'm just paraphrasing what she said. I can't get my head around this case. Even Charlie Manson didn't kill someone in his own family, have them killed. It's the idea, and it's what I go back to over and over again. Where did they all think that this was the best? Obviously, all thought best choice. They obviously all thought they would get away with murder with their connections and their wealth, and that no one would point a finger at them, that Luis Rivera and Sigfredo Garcia were far enough away or wouldn't get ID'd. And frankly, a lot of murder cases go unsolved, become cold cases. But not this one, and not in this day and age. With the way it was done, it just seems like they all decided that what was best for them was most important, and that Donna's grandchildren, the fact that they'd never they'd never know that they would lose their father and never know their father for the rest of their life, have their father in their life for the rest of their life. And I think they all told themselves that, they won't even remember him. They're young enough, they won't even remember him. Lincoln and Ben. And then to rob them of knowing their grandparents on the other side, what Wendi did, and to erase Dan Markel, try to erase him off the face of the earth, including their middle names that were a tribute, just change everything about him. You're just a total Adelson now. And that's the way they think of themselves. They are a clan, us against the world. No one messes with the Adelson family. But to think that because Wendi wants to save her career and save her reputation and end the war that she's in with Dan Markel, that threatened all those things, in addition to moving to Miami and Donna's opportunity to not be bothered to have to travel to be with the kids, it's so petty and ridiculous and immature, ultimately immature.
Back once the fucking jail doesn't care about what we're calling. Right, it'll come slower.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure the psychologist thought you were fine. So it's just a matter of waiting for that and waiting for the chief.
Yeah, she says we're hurting for it, and then it's slow, and then maybe tomorrow. I got 33% left on my phone, and 2:50 in the afternoon. And it's okay. Once it gets to 15%, if you switch the low battery saver on, and then I can probably get that. But it's like, you just isolate. Like I'm used to being able to talk to people, move around,
of course,
chat at myself. It's like you're doing the complete opposite of what I would need to have done.
Right.
In this situation.
I know. But all right. It sounds like if it's not today, they'll do it tomorrow. But hopefully today. But they're not in a rush, Trish. You're in a rush. They're not in a rush.
It's like, it's bad enough all this happened, and now I'm like taken out of my normal surroundings.
I know.
Put into like a solitary. I mean, I get why they do it, but this is like, it's trust me, it's a bed on like a plastic box. I rolled up my mattress upstairs and brought it down to here, and it's just my bed sitting in my box. Like a 3 feet by 6 foot box, put on the ground in the center of the room, where I'm used to walking back and forth in the middle of the pot. Now I just like walk up and then around the bed and then back.
And it's the same story with like they'll shut off the phones at 4 and not till 6:30 back on. Is that everywhere? Yeah.
The lack of empathy in this family is amazing, isn't it? I have to put my bed on a box. Put Dan Markel in a box under the ground, but forget him. He's not us. He's not an Adelson. No compassion, no feeling for anyone else. It's hard to wrap here. It's a family of psychopaths.
Hold on. Just checking in. Okay, there's Bree just checking in with me. Okay.
I talked to Dan.
Yeah. Then.
He's like, and he's working hard. He's still in Tallahassee. I thought he had left. He's staying here an extra day, I guess, to write up.
Yeah.
You know, so whatever it is, if they open up an inquiry, they ask the judge.
Okay,
you know,
good.
They investigate. They lie. You know, he said, listen, it may be the kind of thing.
Yeah.
9 months from now, the juror writes something stupid on a blog, and they investigate, and they find out, like, and then they find out something, and they're able to open it, and then it could possibly lead to an appeal. You know, I basically got the judge let a lot of stuff in.
Right here, he's saying that Judge Everett was favorable and went with a lot of their rulings, a lot of the defense rulings, let them use a vigorous defense and a really varied defense, let a lot of evidence in. Pretty interesting. But does anybody remember that he appealed on the idea that he didn't get a fair trial because the jurors had a group text message going and that they could have talked about the case? There was no proof that they did, and they wanted it investigated. Does anybody remember that little moment in Adelson history? I had forgotten about it until I heard this call. That's what they were going with. He's like, hopefully somebody on the jury will that we know, we're monitoring their Facebooks. It so reminds me of Karen Reed trial, that Karen Reed used all this stuff. They all get ideas from each other, you know. We'll just wait till they out themselves as being impartial, and then we'll get on it and we'll get a successful appeal. That's the best they can hope for. Not that someone would come forward and tell the real story. Not that, you notice how he's not hoping that Katie Magbanowa will turn around and tell the truth, that she extorted everybody. Isn't that interesting? And that Charlie's innocent and he knew nothing about this plot, and he wasn't. And maybe Luis Rivera would finally tell the truth. Maybe he'd finally tell the truth to a cellmate, and that cellmate would tell Dan Rashbaum or the guards or someone in the jail that would get to Dan Rashbaum, and the truth could finally get out. You notice how that it's not going down that? Instead, they're hoping for a juror to get out on a technicality. Isn't that funny for an innocent man? Isn't that strange? So to answer the person in the comments who said that we're falsely convicting the Adelson family, this is why we feel they're guilty. Common sense, using common sense. These are not the arguments of an innocent person.
To the case, and he did that because he didn't want them to appeal. You know,
right.
The harder the judge rules, I guess there's more appellate issues that can come up. Like if that guy, Hankerson or whatever. I guess the harder the judge rules on issues that are in the trial, the more likely there's to have an appellate issue. If the judge is in favor of the defendant, the more likely there's to have an appellate issue.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
So my general feeling, this is just my feeling, I'm not a lawyer, but my feeling is that he ruled, if anything, he gave us the benefit of the doubt because he didn't want there to be an appellate issue.
Yeah. Is that what Dan thinks?
Well, I mean, he made that comment today that the judge ruled in our favor a number of times. You know, he let him bring stuff in. And I either said it or I heard it, that he meant it, that there's not going to be, you know, let things say that we're done wrong. I mean, you have to either say that the judge could tell you, then it gives you your due process. You know, if the jury didn't do anything improper, thing improper, like, what's your reason for wanting a new trial?
If there was an appeal, would it have to be in Tallahassee, or can you move it? Because I don't understand why they wouldn't let you move the venue. I don't. It was blatantly, I mean, look, I have, I didn't say this to you before I picked up the phone, but there's a lot of things that we have to do, and we've got a very tight time frame. So one of them involves taking care of some things for Roman, taking care of some things through Steinberg. Dad's been on the phone all day, and Susan was nice enough when I called her. She said, I'm going to gather everything up and I'm going to drive down. So she and Rick got here about, I don't know, 10 minutes before you called, so that she could work with us, because we got a couple of hours of stuff to take care of for Roman. So working on that, and just a lot, but you're going to be okay. You're going to get out of that stupid room. Once you do, you'll start to feel a little bit better. I know that.
I mean, isn't that funny? So Susan and Rick are over, and they're helping with moving all the custodial, I guess, money, making sure money gets to Roman, Charlie's son. So that's not showing your hand that you might be taking off, right? But okay, or maybe it's Charlie's stuff to Roman. I don't know, but she seems to show her hand quite a bit in this call. Take a listen.
And when I have something that I do need to tell you, I'll speak to Dan. Okay? So then I'll let you know what time to call him. Can you hear me, Charlie? Shit. You can't hear me again, right? Charlie, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Can you hear me, Major Tom? Charlie, can you hear me? Right. So this is when this is when she thinks that the phone is cut out, and she lets a lot slip here.
I'm sorry. The fourth time that they cut the line each time. You have to pay for every minute, but they keep charging every time you reconnect. They say that doesn't happen. Listen, it's that he's in this room that so the psychologist, they want to make sure he doesn't kill himself. So the psychologist finally came, and he said to her, if you leave me here, I'll kill myself. There's no light, no nothing. I'm in a cement block. Let me go back to myself and see where I am. Please don't leave me here. And spoke to him for a little bit, and she said, no, you're perfectly fine. I know that. I just have to go back and, I've got a few of these reports I have to write. Once I get those written and then submit them and then get them approved, you'll be able to go back. So he thought he was going back in an hour, but that she better get that thing done, because I'll lose my mind in here. It's all spirit on the inside. So all you see is yourself. The lights never shut off, day or night. These fluorescent lights, he says, are on all night. He said, I just want to go back where I was. At least I know people. I can see people. He says, here, I'm in a box. So he's just. What? I'm sure he'll pull back or just keep getting disconnected. I didn't even know if he was drinking. He wasn't buying Coke, water, nothing. Like I said, maybe both of us. I think it would be a nice way to just leave me alone and say goodbye. I am not going myself. Go to prison. It's something he didn't do. I can't push it. I'm not that strong. And I also know how he is a year ahead. His body and everything just slowly started to deteriorate. I'm old. I have a life. We had a great marriage. Happy, we traveled, we lived good. I really.
Are you guys paying attention? Here's what she's saying. I'm not so strong. She talks about someone else who was in prison in a year and a half. Their body just deteriorated. She's had a good life. She's not that strong. And a lot of people were saying Donna is because she's so skinny. And that's one of, I think, a sign of her control issues, is she controls over food. That she, and elderly, that she wouldn't make it to trial. And I was the first person who said, oh no, Donna's like a cockroach. She is strong and she will make it to trial. Believe me, she will make it to trial. And I think if she makes it till September, I'll be proved right. So far, I've been proved right on that. But here she is. This is option A. And she's on the phone with Dan Rashbaum. This is right after Charlie's been convicted. She's getting ideas, hearing things about a grand jury meeting, and she's making plans. And one plan was to end it all, and here she's trying to sell it to Harvey, who's not really on board. I really am not unhappy. Well, that's an admission in the negative here, right? When you're happy, you just say, I'm a happy person. Happy people don't plan to do this. I think she told June and Chinda that she felt Dan Markel was haunting her from the grave. And she'll go on to say the family's curse, meaning everything bad happened to them after this. Everything has gone downhill. They had, I think, even the year she had with her grandchildren, they're always looking over their shoulder. They're always wondering the bump. Just, her stomach's always uneasy. This is a family of weak stomachs. Was it all worth it? I don't think any of them think it's worth it. I think they all blame Wendi. This is all Wendi's fault. Why did we do this for Wendi? And this is what she says over and over again. We'll get into another call. Wendi's over. She told the boys. They're all telling the boys that they're all not guilty. And the boys will repeat that and grow up until there's always a key moment in everyone's development when they separate from their family and see their parents and their family as fallible human beings. When Lincoln and Ben get to that point, it's going to be really interesting. They've always been very precocious from what I've heard, when it's going to happen, when they look at their mother and say, is Tallahassee this bad? Did they really wrongfully convict my brother and my grandmother and maybe even indict my mother for this? It's going to be quite interesting. And will they attend the trial? Will they peek any of Donna's trial? Will they get curious? They're getting to that age, that rebellious age, where even if you're told not to watch the trial, you might sneak it and get curious about who their father was.
Not unhappy. And I'm more than willing to just say goodbye. Just let me lie down. It doesn't painful. I just want to go to sleep. We bought our cemetery property a couple months ago. We're good. I'm good. I went into this weekend because I said something that made her feel like I had enough, and I'm not going to watch. If the trial doesn't go well, I know what I need to do. Now, you know something was wrong because we lived here 9 years. She's never once just come over and said, I need to talk to you. I'm sure. Probably. Make sure the sat down on the couch right there. I was sitting here, and she didn't say, "Look, Mom, this is a horrible time for all of us. Charlie's on trial for his life. We're all aggravated. But if this is what you're thinking of, oh, just sat there, and she said, listen, you're suicidal. I'm going to take correct you. So I said, I'm not suicidal. I'm fine. I'll see the boys tomorrow night. We did. We said Sunday night. She said, yeah. Good. Now, am I suicidal? No. Do I want to go to sleep and not see my son? I do. Perfectly honest, I do.
Not see my son. So that's interesting. So I want to go to sleep and not see my son. So she's not seeing her son if she flees either. But is it just that she cannot live through the pain of what Charlie's going through? It's too painful. They're too enmeshed. So when Charlie's hurt, she's hurt. She can't deal with it. But this is her plea for her sympathy. And Wendi just was like, look, it sounded like I'm going to correct you. If you're thinking of ending it all, I'm going to correct you. Like, or was that put you in a hospital? Was that what that was? Let me know what you think. But she comes by because she's concerned about that. Donna's putting out hints like, they had gone through a trouble saying, Donna was saying, like, you never ask about Charlie and I'm a good babysitter. I've been a good babysitter. You've used me, which that's pretty much Wendy's MO. And you've used me to get this done. And we heard you've been protected. Your lawyers protect you. You protected yourself through this whole thing. And it burns them up that Wendi, there's a reason why, if you think about the way that they're trying this case. So Charlie with the La Dolce Vita tape, most evidence against Charlie, second most evidence against Donna, and the most and the least evidence against Wendi. So they built a house. So the low-hanging fruit on the bottom, Sigfredo and Luis, Katie, Charlie, Donna, and Wendy's the roof of the house. Last brick. Some people say Harvey, but I'm not really fully on board with that, even though I do think he was involved in this.
And we'll do it. We'll do it together. Leave a note. They'll know when to come and get us. And we'll do it together. The boys. Look, got to make a decision at some point. So after speaking to Dan this morning and knowing what they're thinking up there, guys.
What they're thinking up there is impaneling a grand jury. That's what she's talking about there.
I don't know if we'll make it out in time. I really don't. But Dan said, you might, or you might do all of it, get to the airport, and they'll stop. And that could happen. It could happen. I don't know, but it's worth a try. I've tried and tried. I don't know what I'm doing. I've lost it, but I don't know what I'm doing. And we have to look at stuff for well into the argue with that.
What do you think? How does it want to be done?
With stipulations as to who's in charge and
It's got to fund those in a trust and everything to go in funding under and the trustee. And so the trustee and the guardian will be able to then the trustee on
guardian that somebody would be watching.
Well, we want someone to take care of it, guardian of the person. So,
I would make some effort to respond if someone's called. If she would do that, I could sit here with you and say, would you do that? But I can't because there was some. So do you tell her that I could tell George?
No, I'm not good.
I don't know how to get in touch with her. So I said, let me ask George. So I said, George, I can't get in touch with her. Bondage told me my lawyer to call her.
So my understanding is George is Wendy's boyfriend at that time. Because the other times she says, well, George can't get up, but she needs an immigration lawyer. She's trying to immigrate also to Vietnam. She's doing these plans, and she's constantly ending it all over Wendy's head. We'll just end it all, unless you might want to help me, get to a non-extradition country, right?
Her lawyer is about the case. And it was not about the case. I have sure. When I said, I just got off with Charlie, he's worried about you. He wants to know what, because I said, yeah, we know you never ask anything about your brother, and she doesn't, and she told me it's because her lawyer said she shouldn't ask. But we found out it's not true. But we just got off the phone with him.
My attorney said no, and he had her attorney. Her attorney said,
I never told her that.
But I've never confronted him.
No.
I don't want to.
So I wrote this last night. We know you never ask anything about your brother. This is 8:00 last night. But we just got off the phone with him, and the first thing he asked was, how's Wendi holding up? I didn't have the heart to tell him that you never called us or asked about him. I just said, we weren't up to phone calls right now. Everyone looks to protect you. I bet you've got a lot to think about. But then she didn't answer. So then I got another call from Charlie last night, and I said, just got off the phone with Charlie. He's worried about you. He wants to know why we didn't speak. I told him a lie. I said, we're only speaking with you and Dan right now. I couldn't bear to tell him the truth. Your sister never even called us, is the truth. So she says this morning, I thought she'd be racing over here last night. Yeah. Dear Mom, I know you are upset by the verdict, but the anger directed at me is not justified. I don't know how much anger is. Really don't. I'm not responsible in any way for Charlie's situation. I am not guilty because I did not do anything wrong, and I was not involved in any way with Danny's death. When I was interviewed by the police and testified in court, I told the truth as I was required to do. I cannot control how the prosecutor used my statement to Charlie's trial. Again, I didn't say that. Also, as you know, my lawyer has advised me not to talk to my family or anyone else about this case. No, about the case, which is true. We've never done it. I followed his advice despite your disagreements with this guidance. Please do not text me about this case anymore. Not about the case, is it? Not what I said. About her brother, and that he wants, how are you, Wendi? How's my sister holding up? She can't.
So all this is coming in, and Wendy's smarter. She gets that this is coming into Donna's trial. It's not about the case. I'm not guilty because I didn't do anything wrong. How about everybody protects you? See, Donna thinks she's being slick. Everybody protects you. We all did this for you, and you don't even come and visit and ask how your poor old Jewish mother is doing, or your father, or your brother. And you used us as a babysitter, right? I mean, that's what she's saying here. And Wendy's like, it gets on it right away. I don't know. I wasn't involved in Danny's death. I know, because you're making it sound, Mom, you're making it sound like I was part of this conspiracy, and that you did all this for us. That's what it sounds like. That's what the subtext is. And Donna's like, I didn't say that outright, but Wendy's like, a blind person could see that. Because they all blame her. You all abandoned us and did what's right. What's good for yourself, not what's right. What's good for yourself. And left us all in the dust. We all band together to get this done. And you went as far away from us as possible. Because she can say on the stand, I didn't even see my parents during Charlie's trial. I was disgusted with what came out during Charlie's trial as if it's something new to her. Wendy's building her defense already. That's why all this is done. And this is why Donna who doesn't think legally. She's not a lawyer, doesn't think like Wendi. She thinks strategically, but not like a defense lawyer, isn't picking up on it. And isn't picking up on the true nature of her daughter. That's the true nature of her daughter. She's showed her stripes. She'll protect her. It's all about herself. Once she's used you, she'll move on to the next person she can use. And most of the families like that. She learned that from her parents. But all this stuff is coming in, was in the document dump.
If you have anything further to say about the case, please go through our lawyers. Right now, I have to be singularly focused on taking care of the boys during this difficult time. So I wrote back, okay, we have no desire to speak with you about the case. I guess Dad and I are just shocked that you didn't think of coming to see us or even calling us. We are your parents. We are and have always been there for you and the boys. None of what we wrote matters about the case. That's over. I just want you to know how many times Charlie is asking about you. Not only do you not ask about us, but not one question about Charlie, right? We will need to give you some information shortly, and we need some business assistance. Please let us know if you can be of any help. I have a space here. I want to give her pose. We're going to be gone. I want her to have all this information. I have the cemetery property. I want her to see all that. I want her to have all these papers and the will.
Right. I want her to be gone. So I wonder if some of this stuff is just stuff. If this is Donna's clever way of trying to fool law enforcement and say, oh, this was really our plan. Because I don't know if Donna's real plan was to end it. I don't know. Now I'm starting to think that maybe this is, we're going to be gone. I want to see her cemetery plot so she knows where to bury us. That was what she's doing here. But they seem pretty much like they were looking up. They knew where they were going to go. They had been to Ho Chi Minh City before in Vietnam. That was also came up in the text, a text about being in the tunnels and seeing a bat in the caves and Ho Chi Minh in the Couture tunnels and running out. That's coming in. So Donna was familiar with Vietnam and she's going to somewhere she's familiar and they were coming back. She needs help with that visa. If Wendi can't help, someone else can. Aren't these, I mean, you know, when we played these, I guess 7 months ago when they came out, we got some of the context, but certainly it's a lot richer context knowing all this stuff now and right before the trial, and that all this is going to be used as evidence against Donna, showing consciousness of guilt, fleeing. Innocent person would say, I'm not involved in this. But of course, what Dan Rashbaum was going to say is once she saw her son get wrongfully convicted, she knew she could be wrongfully convicted with the same kind of evidence, how easy it was to convict an innocent person in Tallahassee, right? That's going to be the line. And so she arranged to flee. And and we heard from the interview with Dan Rashbaum, she wasn't arrested at the time. Right. That's what you do. That's why you flee. That's why people flee. Because they think they are going to get arrested. So they flee before they can get arrested. So they're out of the grip of the law, long arm grip of the law, right? So funny. He's like, well, she was a free woman when she went to the airport, but she certainly didn't come out of the airport a free woman.
I want her to see all this. So please let us know if you can be of any help. The other thing is the visa, which she would know about. No, I said we need some business assistance. Please let us know. If not, we'll try to find someone who can help us. This needs an immediate reply so I can start asking other people to help. And then she always gets nervous if we want to talk to her. So I wrote, don't get nervous. Again, nothing, in capital letters, nothing about the case. Just would like to show you some business stuff and personal things. If you can't do it, we must find someone who can. I hope you understand that it has nothing to do with the case. There is no more case. And then I wrote, by the way, you said you have to focus on the boys, as you told us.
Right. That's my favorite. There is no more case. I love that. There is no more case. Nothing about the case. There is no more case. It's one of my favorite Donna quotes. So that's what I wanted to show you from that. That's the meat of it. Pretty interesting stuff. All coming in as evidence for the state of Florida. The case against Wendi Adelson for her part in the murder of Dan Markel. Another interesting part, I wanted to just play the first 7 minutes of this. Thought this one was interesting. I've been listening to, so you can tell I've been listening to a lot of the jailhouse calls. I've been finding them really interesting. Hold on one second and let me pull it up. Just the first 7 minutes of this one I thought was interesting, not the whole thing. So here, let me set the scene. This is after, of course, these are all after Charlie's been convicted. Wendi is over at her parents' house. And this is some about what they told the boys. And I thought it was just pretty interesting to hear about the family enmeshment.
Call from an incarcerated individual at the Leon County Jail. This call is not private. It will be recorded and may be monitored. If you believe this should be a private call, please hang up and follow facility instructions to register this number as a private number. To accept charges and consent to this recorded call, press 1.
Thank you for using Securus. You may start the conversation now.
Hi, honey.
How are you?
Hey, so good. I just maybe 10 minutes ago got a text back from Dan, and he was going to reach out to them again. He's concerned that they're going to keep you there a few days, but I said no. Charlie, said they should be coming today. He says, all right, let me reach out to them again. And wait, hold on, let me read the text. Hang on a second. I just put you on speaker so I could read the text. I just wrote it. Dan, yeah, put in the call. It may take a couple of days of them observing, but I am going to call Whaley. So he's going to do whatever he can do, unfortunately.
Supposedly the chief has to come, the chief of the jail, the one that runs the entire jail.
Again, this is Chief Mack, who Wendi had a big problem with, who had to testify in her plea hearing, that all her rights weren't violated. It's just so interesting. Oh, you'll get real familiar with Chief Mack, Donna. Just wait. But he's calling Whaley, who's like way down on the totem, who he's familiar with in the jail.
He's going to come see me personally.
Who is Whaley then? Is he the chief or is someone else?
No, Whaley's a sergeant who's in charge of classification.
All right. So maybe he has, I think, somewhat of a relationship with him.
Yeah, he has a relationship with him. Whaley's good, and Chief Mack is, he's the guy that Dan was always calling in the beginning when I was trying to get out of solitary, and he just never returned phone calls. He runs the whole jail, so it's like, he knows what he wants to do. He doesn't want to do anybody.
Funny, Bree is texting me. Oh gosh, let me just tell her. Hold on, Bree. Talking to you now. Yeah. Okay. So Dad's gonna be Dad is much better. He's gonna be a little occupied. So I told you we hadn't spoken to anybody, and you asked how Linda was doing, and I kind of knew, but I didn't say anything. So I said, we're all having a really hard time. And she came over. She's in the other room with Dad now. She told the boys, look, Charlie, everybody's just very sad right now. They couldn't go to school. She she made him go this morning. And I think what will happen at some point is that be able to work it out, not maybe in a week or so, work it out so there's a time so that, you know his after school hours or whatever, and you'll be able to call and talk to him because he would like that. So
this is Ben, who's much closer to Charlie than Lincoln, the youngest. And so it is sad, but of course, this is all of their own making. None of this, it's so morally repulsive and unnecessary that they took the life of Dan Markel. It's so unnecessary. And it's hard, and again, I laugh listening to it because this is Donna, always do that. Donna being strong for Charlie, quote unquote. We have to be strong for Charlie. She's like, she's just falling apart. Every call is like this. She's falling apart. He's holding her up. But in her mind, narcissistic mind, psychopathic, my mom calls it, my mom's take on Donna, my mom who works with prisoners says she's got a criminal mind, is that she's holding Charlie up. She's getting Charlie through this. And Charlie thinks he's holding his mother up. So they all think they're holding each other up and that they're being strong. Charlie, I would say, is closest to being, he's broken down a couple times, but considering what he was facing, life in prison's no small thing. But Donna is just a wreck, losing it. So they're talking about what they're telling Wendy's children. I think this is interesting. Take a listen.
So they're going to be fine. They're kids, Things recover real fast. But I didn't know this until she came over because she didn't want to talk to me and tell me anything without being here in person.
All the things I wanted to do and I'll never get to do.
Yeah, I bet Dan Markel felt the same way. All the things he wanted to do, but never got to do because you ended his life, Charlie. Something to think about there. Same thing, Donna. Think about all the things Dan Markel wanted to do.
I don't want to get into detail. I just want you to know they love you. They love you, and they're sad, and they understand what happened. They totally understand what happened. They know that none of us had anything to do with it, and they are. They're sad. So.
Which is interesting because in about a minute, Charlie Adelson's going to say, children just repeat what they heard. So, of course, they believe what their grandmother tells them, what their mother tells them, that they had nothing to do with this and the whole world's bad. All of Tallahassee is so bad and backwards and that the justice system is so unfair and that Charlie Adelson never had a chance in Tallahassee. Of course, they're going to believe this. But there's going to be a moment. There's a moment in everyone's life. It's called becoming an adult. And sometimes you meet adults who haven't gone through this, and it's like a very weird thing that they haven't gone through this rite of passage where they recognize their parents as real fallible people and not superheroes and and not infallible, but there will be a moment when each one of Wendy's sons goes through this, and what I understand is they're very curious and extremely bright, and I would wonder, this is not an experience that any of their friends are going through. This is what makes this case such an anomaly. I mean, that's not actually an anomaly. There's other cases of rich people doing these things, but it doesn't happen where a whole family plots like this to kill an ex-family member. It's usually over custody. But of this class, his kids in this class are going to have people and uncles in prison convicted of these kind of things. They're going to get curious, and it's going to be very interesting, the family dynamics. You know, it makes me think of the Robert Marshall case, the murder of Maria Marshall, which was also a murder for hire. Robert Marshall and Maria Marshall had 3 boys. Robert Marshall had his wife killed by hire. And the 3 boys stuck by him, even though he had lied to them over and over again, pre-trial, through the trial, and he went on trial, Robert Marshall, with the hitman, and moved in the hitman's wife into his house when they were both on trial together. And when he got convicted, the 2 oldest sons realized he was guilty and had nothing to do with him ever again. But the youngest stayed loyal to the father up until when he died in prison. He was given a death sentence, but ultimately it got commuted to life, and he died in prison right after it got commuted, and he had his first parole hearing. But it reminds me of that, you know. I think when they get exposed to these trials have been broadcast, when they start really critically watching these trials, it's going to be very interesting for the whole Adelson dynamic. They're already so fractured. It's already Wendi, it's already Donna, Harvey, and Charlie against Wendi. And the boys are kind of Switzerland and neutral in this.
For now, we'll leave it at that. Just the grown-ups will talk, and in a week or so, they'll straighten out times, and so that you'll know that you have a set up time, and you could call, and you could talk to him, and then things will be as fresh, and everybody will be calmed down, and they'll be able to talk better. Okay. Right now, it's all too fresh, honey. Oh. And that's why this is not a time to tell your son. I mean, I know Bree said, something with Roman. Roman knows nothing. Roman knows Daddy's calling, and that's fine. Let us stay like Daddy is calling, and that's it.
Yeah, Ro doesn't know. He's happy. He gets on the phone with me. And he's like, yeah, this will all be over soon. And he said to me yesterday on the phone. He must have heard Brittany's mom say that to her. The kids just repeat. I don't even know what the hell they're repeating.
Right, of course. Well, no.
Like, yeah, it'll all be over soon. It's all gonna be okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah. Oh, you got no idea.
No. Anyway, I'm talking to her now, so I can't put either one of them on right now. That will happen. It can't happen now. In the meantime, you got me, and you've got Dan, and you've got Bree, and we will hang in there until I sent Janice.
Okay, so did you hear that? You got Dan. So now Dan Rachbaum is like part of the family. You got Dan, your lawyer, but now he's our lawyer. He's the family lawyer. It's like he should change his name. Dan Rachbaum should change his name to Dan Adelson. He's so much a part of the Adelson family. Bree, you got, what does he say? Dan, me, and Bree, right? Us, but no Wendi, right? Wendy's not in there. And Wendi jumps ship and saved herself. She's no longer in the Adelson circle of trust, or slightly in the circle of trust when they need her to, give her a gun and give her some information about fleeing and where their burial plots are. But besides that, they all resent her now, even though they all made this decision together. In the same way that they were going to, and I think that that's really the subtext of the whole story of getting $1 million together to entice Dan Markel to move to Miami. They were each going to pay a third, a piece of it, $333,000 each of them. So Harvey and Donna, and Harvey, Donna, and Charlie, right, split it up to make Wendi happy. But it was also to make Donna happy. Donna wanted to control. That's what custody is always about. It's about control. She wanted to raise those kids. She wanted to parade around her grandchildren and be a really integral part of her grandchildren's lives. So, boy, did it backfire. So I thought that was a interesting call, what they're telling the kids and how long it's going to last. I'm going to take a quickie break. We get back from the break. Donna gets busted on a hot mic. We're going to listen to her hot mic moment that really solidified all of it. And going to read you a letter about Dan Markel. Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. I will be back in 36 seconds. If you are enjoying this episode of my True Crime Report, please hit the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and share this episode. Get access to exclusive podcasts and other bonus content by becoming a patron today. If you have a question or comment for me, shoot me a super chat and I'll do my best to answer it and read it on air. Thanks so much. Now back to the show. Okay, so I just wanted to show, just really quick, to remind everybody, since the shocker moment in this case, so Donna thinks that she's been disconnected, but she's still being recorded. This seems to be a pattern here, right? And this is where she talks about fleeing. Take a listen.
Of everything we can do. I'll have to tell her we're leaving the country. They're not recording my phone. If they are able to stop us, you know. I mean, what am I going to do? I can't write it. Dan says don't put anything in writing. I can't. What am I supposed to do?
So that was wrongfully written in the automatic translation as dancers, but Dan said, don't put anything in writing. But I'll just talk on a hot mic, tell him I'm fleeing. He said, I might make it out. We might make it out. Might get caught, but maybe not, right? This is again. She basically should have written a letter. Dear Tallahassee law enforcement, I am fleeing to a non-extradition treaty country. Love Donna and Harvey. I'm taking Harvey. Love Donna Adelson. P.S. Harvey's going with me. P.S. Harvey's going with me. Just to let you know, we're leaving on November 13th. We're taking a night flight to Vietnam. You might want to meet us in the jetaway to arrest us. So she's the worst criminal. I mean, I can't say the worst. She got away with it for years and years for the murder of Dan Markel, but she just can't understand the way Wendi can, how they're looking at everything. They're looking at the context. They're looking at what's not been said, even when it's not said outright. And that's what's so much of what convicted Charlie. And he's like, oh, it's all misinterpreted, but it all fits, right? So even when you're using code language, when it fits, when all the codes fit, it paints a picture. Donna doesn't get this. Donna thinks like, no, you just tell them that the code meant this, and you have a story for everything. Donna and Charlie are very alike in their thinking in that way. If you have a story for everything, no problem, you're covered. And that's why Charlie was giving away his food. It was really sad. And one call I was listening to, you can hear how nice Charlie is to the guy. He's like, oh, he gave him his food thinking he was getting out. The jury was going to acquit him. And the guy comes back to return it. Like, hey, here's your commissary food you gave me, thinking you were going to get out. And you can hear the interaction between on Charlie's side. So, yeah, they all think you got a story, you're covered. Not so.
Should I? I can't. So I'm supposed to call Dan, but that line is included because I don't have a private line for Dan. So they're going to either hear me tell Dan to call Annie, or they're going to hear me tell Annie. They might as well hear me. Yeah. I mean, what's the option? Or Annie Cunningham? No, not necessarily. But I'll tell her that there's business things that Harvey wants to talk to Ron about, and it involves. It shouldn't be a whole lot of work, but it's going to be some because he's going to need to be able to contact the handyman, check apartment numbers. We'll give him all the information he needs. He'll send Ron a picture of broken cabinets, and Ron will say, yes, go ahead and replace these. You know what I'm saying? No, I'm not going to tell her details. I'll just say Harvey will talk to him later. Call Annie Cunningham.
Right, and this Annie Cunningham comes up a lot in the new data dump. I think she was going to take over the properties was my take. Let me know what you think. People who really follow this, Patty. I don't know, Murder by Maestro. Anyone else who's listening really follows this case closely? Society page, the Great Society page. Thank you for moderating this. Tommy D, appreciate it. Anyone else in the chat who knows a lot? But Annie Cunningham's name comes up all the time. But Harvey's like, yeah, don't tell her specifically. Don's like, I'm not going to say anything except I just said it. I just said we were going to flee on a jailhouse slide. Harvey knows she's got a little loose lips, just a little bit.
No. I don't know if he's going to get out of there. His mind if he's there all day. Yeah, I don't think he's got to get out of the shower. You have to let him out for a shower.
Thanks, Debbie Martin. Annie Cunningham is a realtor in Miami, so I guess she was going to take over unless there were a few. That's probably a good guess. And I guess she was going to take over their real estate properties. Interesting. Society page says Donna simply can't shut up. Yeah. It's unreal. These calls are just, I don't know. I found them super interesting in playing them with a little, I took a little break. There was nothing going on in this case for a little while. I took a little break and coming back to it with everything that we know and how everything's worked out. It's certainly interesting. So yeah, that's Donna saying she's gonna, let me see, is there anything else on here? I don't think so. Hold on. Yeah, I think that's the end of it. Forgive me if I've missed something super important. Just before I read, I think it's good to remember that one testimony that Donna really hated was Jeffrey Lacasse. And this is something the Society page put together, but it's a musical number But it's a good reminder of why Jeffrey Lacasse is one of the most hated people. Even Wendi says, I don't think much of him now because he's such a awesome witness in this case, such a good, believable witness. And he was around Wendi all when they were plotting this and watching, going to the celebratory dinner that they had afterwards. It's so sick, isn't it? And he also took notes all through it. People get angry that he didn't keep his notes, but had he kept his notes, the defense would have gone crazy. Like, you were setting her up. You were setting the story up. You kept all your notes. You were ready to set her up for murder. But they were setting him up to be the fall guy. And boy, did he have the last laugh. This is Thank You, Jeff by the Society page, a little musical number with some of the real evidence he had against Wendi. Take a listen.
Your Honor, the state calls Jeffrey Lacasse.
Jeffrey Lacasse, please.
There he is. Oh, Jeff, thank you for being here.
No, seriously, Jeff, I mean it. Thank you, Jeff.
My name is Jeffrey Lacasse, JEFFREY LACASSE.
Thank you, Jeff.
Well, you seem quite sincere. What's that music?
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Jeff.
Charlie had told her that no man wants to date a single mom. So we had this conversation repeatedly. And then I show up to dinner and Charlie's dating a single mom.
Thank you, Jeff. I'm so freaking scared of that T-Rex. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Jeff.
An extremely contentious divorce.
Thank you, Jeff.
And Wendi Adelson drove me to Charlie Adelsen's house, at which point I do recall observing that she was unusually jittery and being strange. I didn't know what to make of it at the time.
Thank you, Jeff.
She was a nervous wreck, and I actually traveled to the store to buy her, I believe, some Pepto-Bismol. She was such a nervous wreck, she was having stomach problems. So she wasn't food poisoned, she didn't have the flu, she wasn't sick. She was just so
I don't remember that.
nervous that she was having stomach problems.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you.
Well, you didn't go anywhere with Wendi without hearing about
No.
Dan Markel's.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you.
I was kind of tired of being strung along.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you. Such from Jeff. Thank you, Jeff. You can bet that he has tons of sex. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Jeff. I'm so freaking grateful for my Jeff.
No further questions.
All right, we can release the witness. Okay, you're free to go. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. I'm so freaking grateful for my Jeff.
Very beautiful. Thank you. Thank you.
So just want to end it the way I always do. Yeah, this has been going for a while. This is with a victim impact letter. This was written in Sigfredo Garcia and Catherine McBanoa's case to the Honorable James Hankinson on September 15th, 2019. To the Honorable James Hankinson, I met Danny in the summer of 2005, the year I graduated law school and moved to D.C. to begin a clerkship. It was a strange time for me, no longer a student, but not really anything else, buffered by aughts, the gnawing need to repay student loans, TikTok, the need to make friends, to find someone, figure out whether this whole law school run had been a waste. A friend from law school, knowing I knew no one in D.C., told me I should meet his friend Wendi. I did, and I enjoyed her company. But it was Danny who took the lead, seemed determined to get me fitted with a life. He hosted me at their apartment for Shabbat dinner and fed me, introduced me to all sorts of prominent professional contacts and to eligible Jewish men. I was a stranger in a strange land, and Danny knew just how such a person should be treated. By opening his home, making them feel cared for. He seemed to believe himself endowed with an outsized set of talents and capabilities, and he was. His charge then was to find those in need, share with them what he had. He was the most presumptuously loving person I have ever known. He never asked if you wanted or needed his advice, interest, or love. He just assumed you did. In my case, he wasn't wrong. In the years that I knew him, there seemed to be almost nothing beyond his power. Right out of a law firm, when blogs were just getting going, he started one of the most prominent and popular for law professors, having only just received an academic post himself. He was a consummate and natural host. A few months after I met Danny, he ran into Zach, an undergraduate he mentored while in law school, at a wedding. He harassed Zach by phone to get on a plane from Los Angeles and fly to DC to take me on a date. The plan was audacious and Danny relentless. It was also just the push Zach and I needed. More than 13 years and 3 kids later, I marvel still at the power and reach of Danny's endless capacity for love. But it was a blind spot too, as all strengths are. I have no doubt that what propelled him into marriage so quickly with Wendi was his irrefutable belief that he could fix any problem and answer any challenge. That she didn't seem to share some of his values with regard to religious observance, or even that she seemed reluctant to marry him. She broke off their engagement at one point when we were all still in DC. Seemed to him more kinks to work out, not impediments to a happy married life. On October 9th, 2012, soon after Wendi took the kids and left him, he sent his vast number of close friends an email. He told us that he had come home from a work trip to a ransacked house, that Wendi had left and taken the kids, but that he was determined to win her back. He concluded with this: "You all know this, I'm sure, but remember, everything wonderful is also and already fragile. Love mightily while you can." It was just like Danny, really, at the bottom of life's ombulette, fretting over what he might impart to the rest of us. I called him soon after receiving his email and opened with, "Just in case it doesn't work out, I've got a girl for you." I thought it would make him laugh, and it did. The irony of my finding Danny someone after he found someone for me. It just so happened that a friend of mine's sister had recently divorced, but then he started to cry. "What's going to become of my boys?" he said out loud, more to himself or to God than to me. Their connection to Yeshidic Judaism is already so attenuated. What's going to become of my beautiful, magical boys? I assured him that he was still their father and that they would be fine. A great dad is a powerful thing, even after a divorce. He would surely remain a primary influence in their lives. What did I know? All deaths are a loss, but I can't help thinking Danny's measures for greater than most. He gave love so generously from such an abundant store. He never quit tending his friends, offering his help. Our loss is profound, but his boys' loss is infinite. They would have received the lion's share of all that he was and whatever he had. They don't even know. Sincerely, Abigail Schreier. That's what I have for today. Please hit the thumbs up, guys. Subscribe to the channel. Share this episode. Leave me a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. And I'll be back tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern. Have a great night, everybody.